Welcome to the January 1.1K round 6. Round 5 video does not happen because the players decided to draw since they could make it into top 8. Again, I am Robert, and I am here with Trey.
Hello.
This game is between our own Trey Dickens here and Anthony Padron, who's a player from Tampa.
Yep, and I am right now on the cusp of top 8, so this game has to be played. Because if we tie, then I will not make it. So
Right.
I have to win this game. But Anthony's high enough actually that it shouldn't matter. But he didn't want to take the risk.
Right, yeah, most other of the top players drew because they were guaranteed in top 8. Trey was right there on the bubble where if he drew, because of tiebreakers, since he was so low, he would have been knocked out, so he had to play and win in order to keep going. So, and Anthony was right there as well, but Anthony got paired down, so he could have drawn and he would have been okay, but since Trey couldn't draw, he couldn't draw, so you have to play the match.
So we're doing our opening mulligan here. Some zoom adjustments. I'm starting double elitism, and Anthony's starting double deception.
Right.
Trying to figure out.
We see Anthony's also playing greed there. You see his hand is full of greed cards.
Yep. And mine is full of deception.
Deception, yeah.
All right.
So when you're mulliganing here, what are you thinking about keeping and getting rid of? Just getting rid of high cost stuff?
Yes, I got the omnidirectional patrol jig, and it seems like I have a lot of deceptions, so I'm pitching most of them.
Yeah.
I look for characters that I can play on turn 1, turn 2, and removal. So I think I end up keeping here, like the only card that's not a resource I keep out of here is my impeccable timing, which is pretty good removal.
Yeah, especially early on, because late game removal it tends to slack off once people start playing bigger creatures. But early on, it's definitely good.
Yep. Yeah, so there was a lot of deceptions in there. Looks like one of my repeat offenders, which I won't have threshold to play anytime soon.
Right. Yeah, definitely. We'll get rid of and all that deception too.
So I'm actually thinking about here whether or not I want to get rid of the last deception here. I had a couple problems in this tournament where I got resource flooded early, so I started keeping 1 instead of 2, and it worked out for me, but it's not necessarily a good idea to do that.
Yeah, see,
I haven't been running enough resources that it didn't matter. So we got in Anthony's hand here. We got a poison blade, a martial artist,
a befuddling beggar, and a drive-by boobing,
yep,
and then 4 greeds.
So that's kind of scary.
Yeah, that's a pretty good opening. I mean, martial artist, poison blade, pretty scary.
Yep, and I did draw the other deception.
Draw more deception. That's good. Yeah, because again, like last game, I don't like to gamble and take that chance. I would have kept the 2 deception.
Well, the one game I lost is when I did keep that, and I ended up drawing 5 more. So
rough. So you guys both had very uneventful turn 1s. You both just played a resource and passed, just drawing cards.
Turn 2, I'm gonna play my Mechanic Help here and bump him to 3/3.
Yep, 3/3 is pretty good.
Yep, 3/3.
Especially when your opponent hasn't developed anything yet. So Anthony actually, though, pays 4 to play a resource, and then he plays another resource on his turn, so he can ramp to a martial artist.
Which is a very scary card in Limited.
Which is a great counter to your 3/3.
I'm pretty sure it's a great counter to most things.
Yeah, I mean, martial artist, he's really hard to deal with, too, in Limited. There's only a few cards that'll deal with him.
It's another one of those cards you pick out with Heist Planner.
Yeah, it's definitely, Heist Planner, you definitely picking a martial artist to get rid of.
I passed my turn here. I have 5 open, and I have a Clockman City Shuffle in my hand. So my idea here is that he attacks, I Clockman City Shuffle and block to kill his martial arts without losing my Mechanic Elf.
Yeah, because that'll make the martial artist a 3/2, and your guy will be a 4/4, so he won't die to 4 speed.
All right, so that's my strategy here, is to just trade my Clockman City Shuffle basically for a martial artist. And Clockman City Shuffle is a great card, but so is martial artist, and hard to get rid of here. But Anthony actually plays a Poison Blade, which completely counters that. Because he knows here the only way I can deal with his martial artist is by buffing my Mechanic Elf, so the Poison Blade completely counters that, unless I'm able to buff it and speed it. So that was a very good play on his part.
Yeah, and so you take, it's still early, so you can afford to take that forward, but yeah, because it's like using a Clockman City Shuffle like that for like a 1-for-1 kind of trade, sucks because when it can do so much more, but for a martial artist, I definitely think it's worth it there.
Yeah, so, martial arts is a very scary card, and I don't know what other ways my deck has of dealing with it at the moment. It's one of those cards you just have to get rid of.
Yeah, Poison Blade on a martial artist is problematic because that means martial artist pretty much kills anything you even want to try to block it with, like you wanted to block with a bunch of. Because again, a lot of ways to deal with martial artists a lot of times is where people will just develop their board and then block like 3 guys just to get a martial artist off the board. Right. But yeah, that Poison Blade just ruins it because he just needs to assign 1 point to everything, and that's it.
And you have to saw here that Anthony, he chose a draw for turn because he ramped his previous turn.
Yeah, because he's at 6.
Yeah, so he stays at 6. So I'm gonna play resource here, putting me at 6.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I guess that's fine with him because I mean the other cards that we saw in his hand were pretty good.
Right. I'm gonna go ahead and get my 3 damage in here as well because I'm not gonna be blocking the martial artist anytime soon. And I will pay 4 for contriving to get my last elitism out, and also to ramp myself a little bit, which puts me slightly ahead of the curve because Anthony.
Yeah, because he stayed at 6 and now you're at 7.
His resource drop on his last turn. Dropping cards.
Driving Engineer is another really good card, and I mean in Constructed it's good too because it helps you ramp, but I think in Limited it's even better.
I have 1 Contriving Engineer and 1 elitism, and then I have 1 card, the Repeat Offender in my deck that requires the 3 elitism. So that's not total waste if I don't get it. And I'm going to play Horsemajig. Just to get another body out, because I'm not going to spend those last 2 elitisms on anything anyways.
Right. Yeah, the other thing with Contriving as well is that even if you don't have that elitism, I mean, it'll let you shuffle, which...
Yeah, shuffle is important in Limited game.
It's very important, because everything you mulligan, I mean, you do want those cards back, and if you don't shuffle, then they're pretty much gone for good.
Yeah, so, when you build a deck in Limited that doesn't have shuffle, it makes your mulligan a lot harder.
It does. It makes it so much harder, because you know that it's like, man, this one-of copy, I'll never see again.
Yeah. And he follows up his martial arts with a fallen quarterfinalist, so it's not looking good for me here, because he can just swing in a party, and it's very hard for me to deal with that kind of aggression. Yeah, it's a lot of damage.
Party swinging is the way to go here because, I mean, you don't have anything amazing on the board. I mean, you have a 4-speed, but it's only a 1-2. I mean, it's not going to do anything to martial artist.
No.
Right? And anything else you chump block with, it's only going to take the damage from martial artist. I mean, so you're going to take that 7 no matter what. So, yeah, it's pretty brutal there.
It's a good combination of attackers, for sure.
Yep.
Especially with the Poison Blade.
Yeah, that Poison Blade is so rough.
Yeah, so in case you don't know how it works, when martial artist assigns damage to the Poison Blade, he can actually assign his 4 points of damage to 4 different characters, and they all will die from the Poison Blade.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to block him now.
And most times when people play Poison Blade, it's not that big a deal. It's like, okay, whatever, just kill your character and get rid of it.
Right.
Well, you can't pick a martial artist, so it makes it even... so that now the way you normally deal with characters is you just kill them. You can't do that. And then the way you deal with martial artists typically is through combat. Well, you can't do that either now.
Right.
So it
very,
makes it
very difficult to get rid of.
That makes it a really, really strong combination there.
This is one of my infamous long turns here.
Yeah, Trey has a habit sometimes for a complicated situation where he just goes into this deep think tank. And he basically maps out like the entire game in his head in like 3 different ways or something. I don't even know.
I gotta figure out. This board is really scary at the moment. I have to figure out a way to deal with it. There's not a lot of ways to deal with it, so I'm just trying to think of the different outcomes I have, the different things he can do to answer my different outs.
Right.
And just to make sure that, because if I don't deal with this board soon, then it's pretty much game over.
Yeah. So the one way you do have to deal with it still would be blocking with the Horseman Jig, and then using Clocking City Shuffle again, because that will make the martial artist a 3-2. That'll make your Horseman Jig a 2-3, and so that'll be enough to trade. I mean, you'll still take that 7 if he attacks in the party, which he likely will. But it'll at least get rid of the martial artist. So.
Yep. And so here comes the party swing as expected.
Yep. Yeah. Just first thing he does, just to get that damage in and just swing.
So I'm at 8 resources here. He's at 7. So I'm 1 resource up at the moment.
8 resources is a lot.
How much does Fallen Quarterfinals cost? Is he a 6 drop or a 7 drop?
He's a 6 drop.
Okay.
He's a 7/5/3.
So he played a resource this turn, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yep, so I'm still thinking, even though I thought all last turn.
Right.
So I'm gonna do a double block here.
Which, I mean, that's now on board wise, like that seems bad because like, okay, you guys are just gonna die.
Yeah.
But you have to have tricks, and
yes. So
one of the few ways to deal with a martial artist.
Yep. So I'm gonna choose ambuscade. I'm gonna pick my Magmatic Elf, which is allowing me to do 6 damage to the attacking party.
And that's not picking, so you can't hit martial artist with it because you just assign the damage.
Ways tactically to deal with martial artist. Right. So I can can inflict 3 damage to the martial artist and also 3 damage to the fallen quarterfinalist. Which would kill the martial artist and then leave the quarterfinalist at 2 life with my contriving engineer blocking him.
Yep. And then so you basically traded 2 for 2. Well,
it'll be a 3 for
3 for 3, right?
3 for 3 potentially, but he plays the Gassy to save.
But you do get rid of a martial artist, which is
right. Which is definitely worth.
Which is worth more than your Magmatic Elf and your contracting. Sure. Like his cards are worth a lot more than your cards.
Yeah. So even though it's a 3 for 2, I am definitely winning that exchange.
Yeah. So he plays a Gassy, which is tactical speed, just to save his poison blade. Which, I mean, I guess that's worth. I mean, it's not quite as good on a 3 speed as it is on a 4 speed, but
or something that can be picked.
Yeah, but I can still see it being worthwhile, I guess, to save for now.
I guess maybe if he was planning on playing the Gassy anyways, it's fine. But I don't know. I don't know if it's.
I don't know if it's worth playing the Gassy just to save the poison blade.
Yeah. I guess he's valuing the poison blade high here.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe he even has another martial artist that he can attach it to.
That's true. Depending on what else he has. Well, we do know he has the Befuddling Beggar, which can make that Gassy.
Oh, that's true. He can make it a 4 speed.
So, so that's true. So you just get your 1 point in, which is fair. You take your...
I'm not blocking the Gassy.
Then you wouldn't sack the 1/2 just to block the Gassy?
Pluck!
Alright, and Pluck. This card is so good.
Usually only lasts a turn, but it is a destructive turn.
Yeah. Typically, Pluck is like pay 7, steal something, and then Pluck dies.
Yeah.
And so for martial artists, it says your opponent cannot pick this card, but rules text is only active while the card is in play. In the discard pile, it can be picked. So that is what he picks.
And so I now have a martial artist.
Right, so even if Anthony plays his Befuddling Beggar and he attacked, I mean, he could bounce the... Or set the speed of the Gassy up to 4, and then you would trade the martial artist with a Gassy. But since you have Pluck, like you could just get the martial artist back next turn. Yeah,
Pluck is definitely very threatening.
So it doesn't. So him attacking doesn't necessarily seem that useful.
Yep. So he's just gonna drop the Flex and Scale, which is
pretty good. Because it is a 4/5. It's pretty strong. I mean, it will block a martial artist with ease.
I think 4/5 is one of the best stat distributions in the game.
Yeah. It's especially in limited. Binker has quite a few 4/5 cards that are all just they're very good because 5 life is just over the threshold of like I said, 4 is kind of the threshold. That 5th life just makes it so hard to deal with.
And he also has the 2 abilities: one that lets him draw 2 cards and gain 2 life, and the other one that just lets him discard 2 cards, and that the Flex and Scale gains.
Yeah, and the Flex and Scale gets big.
Yeah, so that could be a problem.
Yeah, it's a nice easy way to refill his hand. I mean, it costs 5 to draw 2 cards, but which is better than paying 6 to draw 2 cards, and then he also gets 2 influence off it.
Very good.
Yeah, so paying 5 is much better.
The only thing you lose basically is the versatility of drawing 1 card at a time.
Yeah, typically. So some people will use because he can just again for blocking tricks and stuff, he can just discard 2 just to pump up if somebody beefs something up that he needs to kill.
Right. It's if he has cards in his hand, it's a constant threat. Like again, the combat math, being able to play with combat math is very good in this game.
So you just use Pluck again to go and steal the
fallen quarterfinalists.
Quarterfinalists. Now you have a 7/5, so now your board is pretty much looking like his.
Yep.
It's still pretty good.
So yeah, his board on turn 3 is now my board.
Right.
That's the power of Pluck.
He goes and plays his beggar now. And the beggar is one of those cards that just it makes combat math and just combat so much harder.
Yeah, so now he's got 2 cards to play with the combat math, which is very scary.
So you have to start calculating in all the speed differentials instead. So now that Gassy isn't necessarily a 3-speed, it could be a 4-speed.
A 4-speed Poison Blade, and then he could also have like however big he wants to make the Flaxen scale as well.
Right.
So
so it just
a lot of stuff to think about when it comes to attacking and against this board.
Looks like you drew an Industrious Usage there, I see, which is the perfect answer to that Poison Blade.
Yep, which also gives a target for Pluck, because he now has no cards in his discard pile.
Yep, because he did just steal the last thing.
So I can completely just put the Poison Blade on my Martial Artist now.
And then you have the same board he did.
Yeah.
A few turns ago.
Perfect.
Good old Pluck. Loves to steal everything.
It's amazing that Pluck has survived for 3 turns at this point. Pluck,
I guess. Well, we saw in his hand the only removal he had was
the boobing, yeah.
Yeah, it was the boobing, and Pluck does not hit. Pluck is not worth getting that 1 point of damage in.
No, yeah. And if I were to ever do that, you definitely would boobing it.
Yeah.
Even though it's just the 1 point of damage.
So the Industrious Usage lets you get a Micro Majig token.
I get a Micro Majig, and then I get a Poison Blade.
Yeah. So the way the Poison Blade works is if you pick a item or a gear that goes into play, but you're not actually paying cost like Pluck is, you just put it into play, and it has the attached to, then you resolve the attached to part. You pick a character to attach it to. So he doesn't use he uses the ability there. He paid 5 to draw 2 cards and gain 2 influence.
Right. But yeah, I didn't attack there because even though it's good attack, there's still so much combat math. And I don't want to really deal with all that combat math without having any of the resources open, with him still having, 7 or 6 open he had. So.
But I don't know. I think I still might have attacked in it just because, attacking the party with because your Poison Blade Martial Artist plus your 7/5, you would have gotten the 7 damage in.
Well, sure. But he has a 7/7 at speed 4 if he wants it. Or even it could even be a 9/9, really.
He would have to discard so many cards, and the cards that he's had in his hand he's been holding since pretty much the start of the game. So they have some value. So if he's willing to discard them, then that's good for you. But the thing is, like him increasing the cost. Like yes, it will trade with your martial artist because he could make the Flaxen scale 7/7 or whatever 7/8, but that's not going to do it at 4 speed with the beggar. So yeah, so he can kill your martial artist, but you only have to assign.
And I still have Pluck at that point, so I could just start taking things back. Yeah.
Yeah. So you could assign and if he double blocked it, then like cool, you'll assign 2 points to each of his characters, still kill him. You'll guarantee to get that 7 points of damage in.
Right.
And then like I said, and then you can just use Pluck, and then this turn you could choose to take Flaxen scale if you wanted it. I'd still probably take martial artist, but yeah. So it's I think attacking still would have been okay because now at this point at this stage in the game for this turn, he has no targets in his discard pile.
Right.
For
so
you
it's
to
kind
use
of a wasted Pluck turn.
Yeah, and every Pluck turn is a pretty valuable Pluck turn since he usually, he's living a really long time, but he usually
for sure.
He usually dies pretty fast as soon as.
And if he is living this long, he doesn't usually have this good of targets.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So that's why I think I would have attacked last turn, just because like I said, it would have been that extra damage getting in, that guaranteed damage. And we know he has the drive-by boobing, which he probably would have used on the following quarterfinals, which is fine. That's removed from the game. He still took 7 from it. He went to 10. You can't get the following quarterfinals back, but that's okay because he can still. Because now he'll have Flaxen scale in the discard pile and martial artist, so you have targets for the next 2 turns if needed.
And he would stop being able to draw cards with the Flaxen scale.
Right. And gaining that influence, which isn't too important when you're controlling the board.
Right.
Yeah, it's only 2, but that 2 can add up, if it's a slower board.
All right, so let's see what I do here. I should be attacking this turn, maybe.
Yeah, since
I still might be scared of the combat math. It's
right. Yeah.
I don't know. It might be a misplay, but.
Like I said, I definitely think hacking would have been good, but you still did well this tournament, so can't really argue with your plays, I guess.
I'm gonna attack with the martial artist by himself.
Yeah, so he's going to go and use the flex scalability to draw 2 cards and gain 2 influence there.
Yep, putting him back at the 25.
Yep, back to full health like nothing's ever happened.
And unless he wants to Befuddling Beggar his flex and scale and trade.
Just to trade, which, again, looking at Pluck, and because you haven't done anything, you still have all your resources. That'd be bad. And since he did just regain, like he can just no blocks and just
yep.
And just take that 4 again.
Yeah, so if he were to trade there, then I would just get one of them back.
Right.
He doesn't want to do that.
So yeah, so since he did gain that influence back, it's totally fine taking that 4.
Right.
And it still leaves you with no targets for your Pluck.
Right, but if I was swung in a party, it would have forced him to make a different decision probably.
And if not, he takes 11, which is pretty bad.
I'm gonna play a bipolar here.
More 4 speeds.
Lots of 4 speeds.
You roll, and it looks like you lose because you do not put the token on the card.
It's a shame, because a 3/4/4 is pretty scary.
3/4/4 is pretty scary. He just keeps. He's definitely developing resources. I think he's caught up to you now, and/or surpassed you in his resource count because he seemed to draw a lot more resources. He's just been playing them every turn.
Yep. So he's going to play his own Sarcophile here.
Second Sarcophile. His a 3/1/4, not quite as good as the 2/3/4, especially because the 2/3/4 can get bigger.
Right. And
but a 3/1/4 is still pretty good, limited. Still kills most things. And it's the perfect card to trade with a martial artist because it's only got one life anyway.
Right, but it is the perfect target for Clockman City Shuffle.
So the Clockman City Shuffle finally comes out. Now see, it's a little bit odd playing it at the end of your opponent's turn, just because you don't get the benefits and stuff from it.
Right. Yeah, I don't get the buffs from it, but I do it so that again he can't utilize the combat tricks of
he can't use the beggar to screw combat math, which is fair. So he'll respond though, and he will then remove the Pluck because the other thing that you get out of it is that your turn.
I would have a Befuddling Beggar.
You'd then be able to use Pluck and get a Befuddling Beggar, which would make your scary stuff even scarier. So
you could use it on the quarterfinalist and gain a resource and make me lose a resource, but it's just not worth it.
It's definitely better getting rid of the Pluck because if not, then you just start stealing so many more things, and it would just.
And he also does have that 3 open for the booming, which we'll probably see here if I attack.
Oh yeah, he shows the 3 open.
After so many turns of holding it in his hand. Yep, here comes the party swing.
Yeah, he's had it since the beginning of the game. And like I said, you just haven't been attacking with any targets that you attack martial arts, but he can't pick it. You
time attacked with the Mechanic Elf.
Yeah, you attacked with a horseman jig. That was like, who cares about a horseman jig?
You don't booby no horseman jig.
All right, yeah, so he has no blocks this time. Like he just slips through, so he takes the 11.
Yep.
Which is pretty brutal.
Because he still doesn't want to lose the Flaxen Scale. That's how he's really staying in the game right now.
See, I mean, I don't know how. Well, I mean, then again, chump blocking though. The only thing, if you did block with something, it would only block the martial arts. You're still going to take 7.
Yeah.
So you really just protect yourself from 4 influence, which.
Right, because he doesn't have the beggar anymore, so he can't trade with the martial artist even.
Right. Yeah, so you play an elusive wolf, which is a 2/4 character, which you can sacrifice deception to make it covert, which could come into play. Covert characters are always scary, but then
especially when you get to low life, that elusive wolf can start coming into play here.
Yeah,
he does boobing the.
He credit 7/5. Yep. And then if you still have the Pluck, once things are removed from the game, the Pluck can't take that back. So.
Right.
It's a good thing to do for that. Can't make out the card he drew.
It looks like a Master Thief to me. I don't think he ever played it though, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
He's gonna go ahead and attack.
He's gonna attack 4.
With a 4/5.
And he does have 2 cards in his hand, and so maybe he doesn't care about those, which he could.
We could also draw how many resources does he have?
Oh, he has 10, so he could draw.
So he could draw 4 more cards.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So
I'm gonna chump block it just to make sure he doesn't pump it up a bunch.
If he did draw 4 more cards discarded, it'd be 3, it'd be 7, which would put you at 10. So that could have been ugly. But the other important aspect though is if he had tried to, block with a couple 4 speeds.
Oh yeah, that would not have worked.
Yeah, he could have pumped it up and you would have lost your 4 speed. So chump blocking is definitely the answer.
I also had a Mark Magic token there that I could have chump blocked with, right. But at the moment that token is the only character I have that is not a 4 speed. So I decided to keep it around just to a 3 speed attack.
Yeah, varying speeds is very useful, especially when you have a martial artist with a poison blade. Because
right.
You want to make sure to get that damage in when you can.
The martial artist is going to tag team with the Micromagic token. It's the best team ever, actually. He gets in for 5 damage. And that puts Anthony at 5, but again, he still has 10 open.
Yeah, he can easily just gain 4 more influence this turn.
Right.
I mean, you could still attack in a party, which would force him to
block with the gassy.
To block with the gassy. Because if not, you just played a billionaire. Billionaire's pretty brutal.
He's got this that card's skill out.
Pretty crazy. So it allows Trey to use any abilities on his opponent's card, which he's doing here now. He's pointing out.
So I'm going to use the second ability there to discard
use
cards.
The second. Yeah, there's a slight misplay here, which it does get fixed shortly. Anthony tries to respond to it to use both his cards. He doesn't actually have to discard them. But then it's pointed out that is a cost. The cost is discard 2 cards, so you can't respond to cost. So Anthony just has to discard both of those cards.
He's pretty upset about that. Yeah, so what you should have done is respond to the Billionaire coming out.
Yeah, because Billionaire is pretty brutal.
Right.
And so, but this also means as long as Billionaire stays on the field, if Anthony does it to draw 2 cards, as soon as Anthony does anything else, Trey can use Billionaire ability. So Anthony pays 5 to draw 2 more cards, and Trey's going to respond and use the ability to make him. Yeah. So Anthony did gain the 2 influence off it, but whatever. So Anthony can never really stay at 2 cards. He has to pretty much stay at 1 card in his hand the entire time.
Yep. So. Did he miss develop here?
Anthony missed his develop here. Yeah,
because I never realized that. But he did miss his develop turn there.
He missed his develop. He should have played a resource or drew a card. He should have done one of those 2 things, and he missed it.
Is that a mandatory trigger?
It is. You have to do one of the 2. Okay. And that matters in this case.
That does matter in this situation.
Because if he had drawn a card, he would have 2 cards he could have responded to make him discard.
Yeah, and if he would have played a resource, he would have 0 cards in his hand right now.
Right. So he missed that develop, and that was a big misplay there. That's like I said. Most times, it's like, if you missed it, it isn't necessarily, it doesn't matter too much. Yeah. But in this case, it actually did matter pretty big.
It affected the flow of the game in that situation.
Right.
But so he plays a Penguin Bodyguard.
We missed that card.
It's one of those other 4/5s that are very hard to deal with.
But it also has an ability.
Yep.
And the ability is deplete it, pick a character, and that character gains 2 life. But again, since it is an ability, Billionaire can use it. So that means Trey can actually deplete the Pingoid to pick a character, being one of his own characters. Yeah. And so that will remove a blocker from Anthony and make Trey's character themselves bigger.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily know if I agree with playing the Penguin in that situation, because it does nothing for him.
Right. He might have just been trying to get some bodies on the field because he is starting to get a little bit lower.
Or maybe he just didn't want to have 2 cards in his hand when he passed the turn.
Yeah, that could be as well. But, I mean, I don't know. Because I don't know what that other card is. I mean, he could have just paid 4 to play your resources. So you do play your own Befuddling Beggar now?
Yep. But I also can't make him discard that 1 card because the cost is discard 2 cards, so he has to have at least 2 cards in his hand to be able to use that ability. But yeah, so I play my own Beggar here. It's deplete and change the speeds around. And then I'm going to go ahead and deplete his Penguin to give one of my guys 2 life. Don't really remember which one it was. It probably doesn't matter too much.
So this is a big party here. You have 3 4 speeds, but remember the Beggar can bounce one of the martial artist to a 5 speed.
Yep, so I'm going to go ahead and he blocks his gassy, and I'm going to pump my martial artist up to 5 speed to kill.
So at 5 speed, it will kill the gassy, and then he would have taken 5. He would have taken 2 from the elusive, 2 from the Sarcopile, and 1 from the Majig, which would have put him at 4. So you definitely had that game well under control there.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been dead quite yet, but it wasn't looking good for him with my billionaire controlling his field.
I mean, that combo of the fact that you got Pluck and Billionaire both is pretty brutal.
Yeah, it's insane. I saw those cards and I'm like, well, I guess I'm playing Rogue.
Indeed. Thanks for watching.
Yep, we'll see you next time.
See you next time.